Across the stars, Jedi Masters paused mid-meditation, feeling a distortion ripple through the living energy that bound the galaxy together. On Coruscant, deep within the Jedi Temple, the holocrons flickered. Beams of light stuttered, as if reality itself skipped a beat. And then, a streak of crimson lightning carved through the upper atmosphere. The flash lasted less than a heartbeat, yet it burned an afterimage into the minds of every Force-sensitive being on the planet. Air crackled with energy, droids malfunctioned, and clone troopers looked to the skies in confusion. No ship appeared on scanners. No hyperspace lane registered the arrival. Only a sound, like thunder trying to catch its breath. Barry Allen hit the ground hard. He lay amid twisted metal and smoke, gasping, his suit flickering with unstable energy. The last thing he remembered was chasing Reverse Flash through a collapsing time stream, a race across centuries that ended in a blinding explosion. He'd felt the speed force pulling him apart, then slamming him back together in some place impossibly far from home. Now the skyline above him shimmered with vertical cities and airspeeder streaming through endless lanes of light. This wasn't Central City. This wasn't Earth. Speed Force, don't fail me now, he muttered, clutching his wrist communicator. Static. No signal. The readings were nonsense. Gravitational anomalies, exotic particle densities, energy frequencies he'd never seen. Something was off. Barry took a breath and tried to focus. His instincts told him to move. Not because someone was after him, at least, not yet, but because this world felt wrong. The very air hummed with unseen pressure, as if some invisible current resisted the speed force itself. He took a cautious step, then another, and finally accelerated into a blur. The world exploded into motion, streets, sky, towers, light, and yet it wasn't right. Each step through the speed force sent ripples that fought back. Time stuttered. For an instant, he saw himself split into a dozen phantoms before reforming in a narrow alley of the lower levels. He collapsed to his knees, dizzy. Okay, not Kansas. Not even the same universe. Above him, the Coruscant skyline pulsed with electric blue. Dozens of patrol drones swept past. Farther up, clones in white armor surveyed the area, reporting strange energy readings to command. Inside the Jedi Temple, Master Yoda's eyes opened. Disturbance, great and sudden. In motion, time itself is. Anakin Skywalker leaned forward. What kind of disturbance? Swift. Unbound by the Force, Yoda said. Yet, living, it is. A storm of energy. Kenobi frowned. A living storm. We should investigate before the Senate does. You know how quickly they'll turn it into a weapon report. Moments later, a Republic gunship cut through the skylanes, descending toward the city's lower depths. The clone pilot's voice echoed through the comlink. General Skywalker, we're tracking residual plasma discharges. They're off the charts, like lightning bottled in a person. Anakin smirked. Sounds like my kind of mystery. Meanwhile, Barry stumbled out of the alley, scanning the crowds. Thousands of beings, humans, aliens, and droids, moved with clockwork precision. Holographic billboards glowed in languages he couldn't read. It was the future, or maybe the past. He didn't know anymore. When he tried to access the speed force again, a pulse of resistance pushed back harder this time. His vision blurred, lightning sparking across his suit. It wasn't pain exactly, more like being squeezed by the universe itself. Then came the voice. Hold it right there. A squad of clone troopers aimed blasters at him, blue-white muzzles glowing. Identify yourself. Drop the weapon. Barry glanced around. Weapon? I don't. One trooper fired a stun blast. Instinct kicked in. Before the bolt reached him, Barry vanished, streaking past them at subsonic speed. In less than a second, he disarmed 3 and disassembled 2 blasters. The clones staggered, bewildered, as he appeared behind them. Okay, he said, panting, you guys definitely aren't from Central City PD. He sped off before reinforcements arrived. Above, on a landing platform, Anakin's eyes widened as he spotted the blur of red lightning darting between towers. Did you see that? He said to Obi-Wan. That's no droid. No, Kenobi replied. And it's moving faster than any pod racer I've ever seen. Let's find out what we're dealing with. They leapt from the gunship, igniting lightsabers as they dove toward the Undercity. Down below, Barry crouched behind a transport, catching his breath. He'd run faster than light before, but this felt different. The speed force here was heavy, sluggish, resisting him like mud underfoot. And when he reached out with his senses, he felt something else. A pulse. A rhythm. Like a heartbeat shared by the entire world. The Force. It didn't speak in words, but it noticed him. His lightning disturbed its flow, sending ripples through everything alive. Somewhere in the galaxy, both Jedi and Sith turned their attention toward him. Barry didn't know it yet, but his arrival had changed the timeline. Every use of the Speed Force echoed across hyperspace like thunder. And those echoes would soon draw the attention of powers far greater than he could imagine. High above, in a shadowed chamber on Sereno, Count Dooku opened his eyes. Lord Sidious, he said through the hololink, something has entered our galaxy. The Force recoils from it. Sidious's rasping voice answered, interesting. An anomaly from beyond? Perhaps, a gift. Watch it carefully, my apprentice. The currents of time may finally serve us. The holo flickered out. Dooku smiled. A man of lightning and speed. Let us see how long he can run. As the camera pans back to Coruscant's depths, Barry looks up from the darkness, the lights of the megacity reflecting in his mask. Somewhere above, the Jedi close in. Somewhere farther away, the Sith begin to scheme. And in that instant, Barry Allen realizes one truth. He's no longer running through time. He's running through destiny itself. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The narrow corridors of Coruscant's Undercity pulsed with neon haze and rain. Barry sprinted through the maze, his boots splashing puddles that glowed blue under streetlights. Every second, he recalculated his surroundings, scanning exits, energy signatures, movement patterns. But this wasn't Central City, this place was chaos stacked on chaos, vertical for miles. He stopped when he sensed them. Two life forms approaching fast, not by speed, but by something else. Barry turned a corner, and froze. There they were. Two figures stepping from the shadows, robes damp with rain, hands hovering near cylindrical devices on their belts. The taller one spoke first, calm but alert. You're causing quite a disturbance. His voice carried authority, almost parental. The younger one's eyes burned with curiosity. What are you? I've never seen anyone move that fast, not even a Jedi. Barry blinked. A Jedi? He frowned. You mean like, laser sword monks? The younger one grinned. Pretty much. He unclipped his lightsaber but didn't ignite it yet. Name's Anakin Skywalker. And this is my master, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Barry exhaled. Right. Sure. Of course that's your name. And I'm guessing next you'll tell me you're from some mystical order of peacekeepers who can move objects with their minds. Anakin raised an eyebrow, and with a small motion of his hand, Barry's comm device floated into the air. Barry stared. Okay, yeah, that's new. The older Jedi, Obi-Wan, studied him closely. You are not from this galaxy, are you? Barry hesitated. That obvious, huh? The Force around you, Obi-Wan said, it twists strangely. You move faster than light, yet you are not of the Force. It's unnatural. Unnatural? Barry scoffed. Buddy, where I'm from, running fast doesn't make me a cosmic problem. Anakin took a step forward. You tore through the atmosphere like a meteor. Clones are reporting damage across 5 districts. Whatever you're doing, stop before the Senate finds out. I'm trying to stop, Barry said. But your world, it's like running through syrup. The speed force feels clogged. Anakin frowned. Speed force? Barry sighed. It's complicated. Think of it like a river of energy that connects all motion, all time. It's how I run. It's what keeps me alive. Obi-Wan's expression turned thoughtful. Interesting. That sounds remarkably like the Force, though bound only to motion. Except your Force keeps fighting mine, Barry said. Every time I use it, I feel like I'm tearing your universe apart. Anakin glanced upward as thunder rumbled through the skyline. Red lightning crawled across the clouds, unnatural, violent. Maybe you are, he murmured. Before Barry could respond, blaster fire erupted from above. Clone gunships swooped in, spotlights piercing the alley. Loudspeakers roared, by order of the Galactic Senate, surrender immediately. Anakin cursed. Great timing. Barry looked around. Friends of yours? Not today. Blaster bolts rained down. The Jedi deflected them with lightsabers, blue and green light slicing through the rain. Barry, acting on instinct, moved, not to fight, but to protect. In a heartbeat, he zipped through the battlefield, disarming troopers before their fingers twitched. The bolts froze midair in Obi-Wan's force hold as Barry reappeared, panting. Anakin blinked. He's faster than thought. Barry smirked. Told you. Fastest man alive. Obi-Wan, catching his breath, said, then perhaps you'd like to prove it, because more are coming. From above, another gunship descended, this one black and silver, its insignia unfamiliar to the clones. A voice crackled over the channel, cold and commanding. Stand down, Jedi. This one belongs to me. The air shimmered, and from the gunship's ramp, a figure emerged. Tall. Cloaked. His eyes glowed faintly yellow beneath the hood. Barry felt the chill before he saw the face. Every molecule in his body screamed to run. Sidious. The Sith Lord's voice slithered across the rain. Ah, the Traveler. The galaxy trembles at your arrival. Barry swallowed. You're not exactly giving off welcome vibes. You distort the Force itself, Sidious said, stepping closer. Even the currents of time bend around you. You are magnificent. Obi-Wan raised his saber. Palpatine. You have no authority here. Sidious smiled faintly. Authority? My dear Jedi, I have destiny. And this one, he gestured toward Barry, is the key to unlocking eternity. Barry's mind raced. Okay, creepy lightning grandpa, I've had enough weird for one day. Sidious lifted his hands. Purple lightning crackled across his fingers, striking toward Barry, but before it hit, Barry moved. Or tried to. The moment he entered the speed force, the world shattered. Light twisted. Space folded. Every bolt of Sidious's lightning merged with his own, creating a blinding explosion of red and violet energy. Anakin and Obi-Wan were thrown backward. Sidious staggered, laughing. Barry screamed as time stretched, his molecules vibrating between two realities. He saw flashes, a world of deserts, twin suns, a masked man breathing in rhythm, and a dark future not yet written. Then it was gone. Barry hit the ground hard, steam rising from his suit. His chest heaved. Sidious looked down at him, intrigued. You cannot hide your power from me, speedster. The Force and your speed force are one and the same, two sides of the same eternal current. Barry groaned. Then you're swimming in the wrong direction. In a burst of energy, he vanished, disappearing into a bolt of lightning that streaked across the skyline. Sidious smiled beneath his hood. Run, then. Every step you take only feeds me more. Far away, in the Jedi Temple, Yoda meditated amid the storm. Light and motion entwined. Dangerous, this being is. Yet, hope, he may bring. Mace Windu frowned. Hope. He just tore a hole in Coruscant's sky. Perhaps, Yoda said softly, to mend the Force, he must first break it. Barry stood atop a skyscraper, lightning flickering around his form. He looked out at the endless city, millions of lives, billions of stars, a universe running on rules he couldn't understand. And somewhere deep down, he knew one thing for certain. If he didn't find a way home soon, this galaxy would never be the same again. The Jedi Council chamber was unusually silent. Outside, the storm still raged, crimson lightning flickering across Coruscant's skyline, streaks that refused to obey nature or the Force. Barry Allen stood in the center of the circular room, feeling more out of place than he ever had in his life. 12 Jedi Masters surrounded him, their faces unreadable. I already told you, Barry said, holding up his hands, I'm not a threat. I didn't mean to come here, it was an accident. Mace Windu's gaze was sharp. An accident that nearly destroyed part of the city. Barry grimaced. Yeah, about that, sorry. Dimensional travel doesn't exactly come with a manual. Yoda sat in his small chair, eyes half closed, his ears twitching as if listening to something only he could hear. Fast you run, he said slowly, but faster still, the ripples you leave behind. Barry blinked. Ripples. The Force, Yoda continued, flows through all living things. But your lightning, it tears at the flow. Disrupts it. I'm not doing it on purpose, Barry said. Where I'm from, the Speed Force gives me connection, to time, to energy, to everything that moves. Maybe it's clashing with your Force because they're too similar. Obi-Wan glanced at the Council. Perhaps we should consider that he might not be our enemy. If his power is tied to motion and time, he might even help us restore balance. Mace folded his arms. Or tip the scales. We've seen what happens when the Force is manipulated. The Sith rise every time we underestimate something unnatural. Barry frowned. Look, I'm not here to play sides. Sith, Jedi, Senate, whatever this place is. I just want to get home. Home, you may not reach, Yoda murmured. But purpose, here, you may find. Before Barry could respond, the chamber lights dimmed. A hologram flickered to life, Chancellor Palpatine, cloaked in political grace and false warmth. Masters, he said smoothly, I hear you've apprehended the visitor causing disturbances across the capital. Obi-Wan shot a look at Anakin. They both knew that tone, calm, yet probing. We have, Mace said. He's being questioned. Palpatine's image smiled faintly. I would appreciate a private audience with him. The Senate is most concerned with the possibility of foreign technology, or worse, weaponry. Yoda's eyes narrowed. Concerned, or curious, are you? The Chancellor chuckled softly. Curiosity is the first step to understanding, my friend. Surely the Jedi do not fear knowledge. The hologram flickered out. Mace turned to the others. He's already moving to control the situation. We can't let him get his hands on Alan. Anakin crossed his arms. Maybe Alan doesn't need us to protect him. You saw how he moved, Sidious couldn't touch him. Yoda's voice was grave. The Dark One feeds on energy. The more the speedster runs, the stronger the shadows grow. Barry sighed. So if I run, I make the bad guy stronger. If I stop, the universe falls apart. Great. I really hit the jackpot this time. Hours later, Barry stood alone in the temple's meditation hall. It was quiet, too quiet. The force here hummed differently, like an ancient instrument he couldn't quite tune into. He closed his eyes, trying to sense the speed force, that familiar hum, the pulse that guided him through time and space. But instead, he felt something else. The force reached back. It wasn't words, but it was alive, aware. It touched his consciousness gently, like light brushing skin. And for the first time, Barry saw through its eyes, the galaxy spread out like a living web, every being a spark of motion. Then, at the very center, he saw darkness. A wound. Sidious. The vision snapped back. Barry gasped, falling to his knees. Lightning flared around him, briefly illuminating the chamber. He heard a voice behind him. "Careful," said Obi-Wan, stepping into the light. Meditating on the Force without guidance can be disorienting. Barry looked up. It showed me something. The man in the cloak, Sidious. He's manipulating the Senate. Obi-Wan's brow furrowed. How could you know that? Because whatever this force is, Barry said, standing, it's connected to the Speed Force. And I think it's trying to warn us both. Obi-Wan studied him for a long moment, then nodded slightly. Then perhaps you were meant to come here. Meanwhile, in the Chancellor's private chamber, Sidious stood before a dark hologram of Count Dooku. The Jedi shelter the traveler, Dooku said. They believe he can aid them. Sidious smiled. And he will, when I am ready. His energy feeds into the currents of the Force like a storm into the sea. Every time he moves, he widens the rift. When the moment comes, that rift will open, and the galaxy will bend to my will. Dooku frowned. And if the Jedi discover your intent? They will be too late, Sidious hissed. The faster he runs, the sooner I ascend. The next morning, Barry stood on the temple balcony beside Anakin, staring out at the endless skyline. So, Barry said quietly, what happens if I can't go home? Anakin smirked. Then you make a new one. Barry looked at him. You sound like someone who knows what it's like to live with too much power. Anakin chuckled dryly. Trust me, you have no idea. For a moment, they were silent. Then, Barry's earpiece, jury-rigged from a Jedi communicator, flickered to life. Static, then a voice. Faint. Mechanical. Familiar. Barry. Barry Allen, do you copy? Barry froze. His eyes widened. That's Gideon. My AI. Anakin looked at him. Someone from your world. Barry nodded slowly. If Gideon's signal can reach me, maybe the Speed Force is stabilizing. And for the first time since arriving, he smiled. Maybe I can get home. Anakin's expression darkened. Just be careful, Barry. Sometimes the universe doesn't let us go where we want, only where we're needed. Far above them, Palpatine gazed out the Senate window, his reflection split by lightning. His eyes glowed faintly yellow as he whispered to himself. Run, Flash. Run, until the galaxy itself tears open. Coruscant's nights were never dark, but tonight, the skies burned. Thunder rolled without rain, and red lightning stitched across the horizon like cracks in reality. The city's power grids flickered. Across the planet, Jedi younglings woke from nightmares they couldn't explain, dreams of running, of falling, of galaxies colliding. In the temple, alarms blared. The Force itself trembled. Mace Windu burst into the chamber. We're registering massive energy distortions across the upper atmosphere. It's the same signature that came with him. Obi-Wan turned sharply to Barry. You said you weren't doing anything. I'm not. Barry shouted. But something's pulling at me, like the Speed Force is, bleeding into your world. Yoda's voice was calm, but heavy. Bleeding, yes. The wound widens. Connected, our realities now are. Barry felt the truth in his bones. Every molecule vibrated wrong, like the air itself was stretched too thin. If the speed force keeps expanding, he said, it could swallow this galaxy, and maybe mine too. Then stop it, Windu said. I don't even know how. Barry snapped. I'm a scientist, not a god. Yoda tilted his head. A scientist, yes. Then study the storm, you must. Understand it, before it consumes us. Later, deep in the temple's archives, Barry stood beside Anakin and Obi-Wan as holoprojections flickered around them, ancient Jedi records, theories about the cosmic force, the living force, and the flow of time. Barry pointed to one text glowing in midair. This one says the force binds everything, past, present, future. That means time's already part of it. Anakin leaned closer. So if your speed force manipulates time, then I've torn a hole in the force's timeline, Barry finished. Which means the universe is trying to correct itself, Obi-Wan said grimly. Barry looked up at the swirling red clouds visible even from the temple's skylight. And I might be the correction. Anakin frowned. What does that mean? Barry swallowed hard. It means, to fix the rift, I might have to run until there's nothing left of me. The room fell silent. Meanwhile, in the lower depths of Coruscant, shadows stirred. Sidious stood before a massive energy field, crimson lightning caged in an orb of ancient Sith machinery. The crackle of power lit his face as he whispered incantations older than the Republic itself. The veil thins, he murmured. Soon, both realities will fold, and from their union, I shall rise eternal. A cloaked figure stepped forward. Count Dooku. You're tampering with forces beyond even the Sith's reach. Sidious smiled, unbothered. Beyond the Sith? No. Beyond the Jedi, perhaps. But the Force is mine to shape, and with the speedster's power, time itself will kneel. He extended his hand. Inside the energy orb, lightning shifted, briefly forming the outline of a man running. The flash. Dooku's eyes widened. You've trapped part of his essence. Sidious's voice dripped with triumph. Every time he runs, every vibration he makes, it echoes through the rift, feeding this conduit. Soon, I won't just command the Force. I'll command time. Back in the temple, Barry stood on a balcony with Anakin. The storm above was worse now, lightning forming spirals that reached into space itself. You're not thinking of going up there alone, are you? Anakin asked. Barry smirked faintly. I've done worse. You won't make it far. Not without help. Barry turned. You offering? Anakin nodded. If there's even a chance you can fix this, I'm coming with you. Obi-Wan stepped out from the shadows behind them. And I'm coming to make sure neither of you destroy the temple on the way out. Barry grinned. Guess I've got my own little Justice League now. Obi-Wan frowned. Justice what? Never mind. Minutes later, a Jedi gunship tore through the upper atmosphere, the storm flashing around it. Inside, Barry's lightning synced with the ship's shields, stabilizing them against the distortions. Where are we heading? Anakin shouted over the roar. The energy readings trace back to 1 point, Barry said, checking his sensors. Beneath the surface. Deep underground. Obi-Wan glanced at the coordinates. The lower sectors, near the Sith ruins. Anakin's eyes narrowed. Sidious. The gunship dove into the clouds. The impact came suddenly, a blast of lightning that sent the ship spinning. They crashed through a tower, metal shrieking. The craft skidded into the Undercity, smoke billowing. Barry stumbled out, lightning arcing across his chest plate. We're close. Obi-Wan's hand went to his saber. Then be ready. They followed the energy trail through shattered tunnels until they reached it. A vast chamber of stone and machinery, glowing red at the center. Sidious stood before the orb of lightning, his cloak rippling. "Welcome, Jedi," he said, his voice echoing. "And welcome." Flash of worlds. Anakin's saber ignited with a snap hiss. "It's over, Palpatine." Sidious laughed. "Oh, my dear boy, it has only just begun." He thrust his hands forward. The orb exploded, sending tendrils of speed force lightning through the air. Barry screamed as the energy hit him, his suit flaring with red and blue light. Time shattered, the walls around them flickered between centuries, showing glimpses of ancient Jedi, clone wars, and futures yet unborn. Obi-Wan shouted, "Barry, stop him." Barry fell to his knees, lightning consuming him. "He's using my energy, I can't hold it." Anakin lunged, deflecting Sidious's bolts. The two locked in combat, light and darkness clashing in a whirl of fury. Obi-Wan joined the fray, holding the line. Through the chaos, Barry realized something: Sidious wasn't just feeding on him. He was anchoring himself to the speed force. Barry looked up, determination cutting through the pain. "If he's inside my current, then I can pull him out." "Barry, don't!" Obi-Wan shouted. "You'll destroy yourself." Barry smiled weakly. "Better me than the galaxy." He took a deep breath, and ran. The chamber blurred. Every atom vibrated. Lightning filled the air as Barry circled the orb, faster and faster, creating a vortex of energy. Sidious screamed as his connection faltered. The red lightning turned white, pure, uncontrollable. Anakin shielded his eyes. "Barry." Barry's voice echoed through the storm. "Tell your galaxy to run forward. Don't look back." There was a blinding flash. And silence. When the light faded, the chamber was still. The orb was gone. Sidious was gone. Only a single red bolt of lightning remained, frozen in midair, then it vanished. Anakin looked around. "He's gone." Obi-Wan's voice was quiet. "No. Not gone. Somewhere between." Above them, the storm began to clear. The skies of Coruscant brightened for the first time in days. Yoda's voice came faintly over the calm, "Ended, the chaos has. But balance, fragile still it is." Anakin stared at the empty air where Barry had been. "He saved us." Obi-Wan nodded. "Perhaps not just us. Perhaps, both universes." Far beyond the galaxy, in a corridor of pure light, Barry Allen ran. The speed force stretched endlessly, stars flowing like rivers. But now, among the electric gold and red currents, something new shimmered, a faint blue aura, pulsing like the force itself. Barry smiled to himself. "Guess I'm not done yet." And with that, he vanished into the light, running toward the next world. For the first time in weeks, Coruscant's skies were blue. Hover traffic resumed its endless hum. The Senate Tower gleamed again beneath the light of a calm sun. A vast chamber of stone and machinery, glowing red at the center. Sidious stood before the orb of lightning, his cloak rippling. "Welcome, Jedi," he said, his voice echoing. "And welcome." Flash of worlds. Anakin's saber ignited with a snap hiss. "It's over, Palpatine." Sidious laughed. "Oh, my dear boy, it has only just begun." He thrust his hands forward. The orb exploded, sending tendrils of speed force lightning through the air. Barry screamed as the energy hit him, his suit flaring with red and blue light. Time shattered, the walls around them flickered between centuries, showing glimpses of ancient Jedi, clone wars, and futures yet unborn. Obi-Wan shouted, "Barry, stop him." Barry fell to his knees, lightning consuming him. "He's using my energy, I can't hold it." Anakin lunged, deflecting Sidious's bolts. The two locked in combat, light and darkness clashing in a whirl of fury. Obi-Wan joined the fray, holding the line. Through the chaos, Barry realized something: Sidious wasn't just feeding on him. He was anchoring himself to the speed force. Barry looked up, determination cutting through the pain. If he's inside my current, then I can pull him out. Barry, don't. Obi-Wan shouted. You'll destroy yourself. Barry smiled weakly. Better me than the galaxy. He took a deep breath, and ran. The chamber blurred. Every atom vibrated. Lightning filled the air as Barry circled the orb, faster and faster, creating a vortex of energy. Sidious screamed as his connection faltered. The red lightning turned white, pure, uncontrollable. Anakin shielded his eyes. Barry. Barry's voice echoed through the storm. Tell your galaxy to run forward. Don't look back. There was a blinding flash. And silence. When the light faded, the chamber was still. The orb was gone. Sidious was gone. Only a single red bolt of lightning remained, frozen in midair, then it vanished. Anakin looked around. He's gone. Obi-Wan's voice was quiet. No. Not gone. Somewhere between. Above them, the storm began to clear. The skies of Coruscant brightened for the first time in days. Yoda's voice came faintly over the calm, ended, the chaos has. But balance, fragile still it is. Anakin stared at the empty air where Barry had been. He saved us. Obi-Wan nodded. Perhaps not just us. Perhaps, both universes. Far beyond the galaxy, in a corridor of pure light, Barry Allen ran. The speed force stretched endlessly, stars flowing like rivers. But now, among the electric gold and red currents, something new shimmered, a faint blue aura, pulsing like the force itself. Barry smiled to himself. Guess I'm not done yet. And with that, he vanished into the light, running toward the next world. For the first time in weeks, Coruscant's skies were blue. Hover traffic resumed its endless hum. The Senate Tower gleamed again beneath the light of a calm sun. To the ordinary citizen, the nightmare had passed, the red lightning was gone, the strange energy fluctuations ended, and the Force no longer trembled. But for the Jedi, the silence was anything but comforting. In the Hall of Reflection, Obi-Wan and Yoda stood before the holographic map of the galaxy. Small distortions flickered at several points, Naboo, Kamino, and a distant world few recognized, Lothal. Yoda's eyes narrowed. Echoes, these are. Fragments of the storm's wake. Obi-Wan folded his arms. Residual speed force. Or, something new, Yoda murmured. Emerging, perhaps. The older master closed his eyes and reached out through the force. For a brief instant, he saw it, a streak of gold light slicing through hyperspace, moving faster than thought. And within that light, a figure, running. He opened his eyes. He's not gone, is he? Yoda gave no answer. Only the faintest of smiles. Meanwhile, Anakin Skywalker sat alone in the temple hangar. The wreckage of the gunship they'd crashed was laid out before him, its hull still scorched by lightning burns. In his hand, he held a piece of Barry's suit, a fragment of red armor that had fused with his gauntlet during the explosion. It hummed faintly, alive with residual energy. He whispered, "You said to run forward, not look back. Guess that's good advice." A voice behind him replied softly, talking to ghosts again. It was Ahsoka. She stepped out from the shadows, her lekku brushing against her shoulders. Anakin smiled faintly. Maybe I'm just trying to make sense of it all. Guy shows up out of nowhere, bends time, saves the galaxy, and vanishes. Ahsoka tilted her head. Sounds like a Jedi to me. Anakin chuckled. He wasn't one of us. But he felt like one. Ahsoka looked at the fragment in his hand. What will you do with it? He stood, fastening it onto his belt like a talisman. Keep it as a reminder. There's always someone faster than fate. Far away, on a remote desert world, Tatooine, a moisture farmer named Owen Lars looked up as a streak of red light tore briefly across the sky. It was gone in a blink, leaving only the faintest scent of ozone. He rubbed his eyes. Must be another Republic ship, he muttered, and went back to work. But somewhere, deep beneath the sands, a strange hum began to vibrate through an ancient ruin, an echo of the speed force mixing with the force nexus buried there. The air shimmered, and for a brief moment, a crimson symbol appeared on the stone floor, a lightning bolt inside a circle. Then it vanished. Elsewhere, in the darkness between systems, a single Imperial probe droid drifted through debris left from the storm. It scanned the wreckage, recorded faint energy readings, and transmitted them back to Coruscant, to an office deep within the Senate building, where a certain chancellor was watching. Palpatine leaned forward, studying the red static on the monitor. His fingers steepled. So, a remnant remains. Mos Amedda stepped closer. My lord, I thought the energy anomaly was contained. Palpatine smiled thinly. Contained, yes. But not extinguished. Something new has entered the current of the Force, something that moves faster than destiny itself. Perhaps, his eyes gleamed yellow for a brief instant. Perhaps we can use it. Weeks later, the Jedi Council convened. Reports of unusual phenomena came from across the galaxy, ships vanishing from hyperspace only to reappear hours earlier, troopers claiming to see their own doubles, droids processing data before receiving it. Temporal distortions, Mace Windu said flatly. Residual contamination from the Flash's passage. Ki-Adi-Mundi frowned. Could they be weaponized? Obi-Wan shook his head. No one truly understands how his power worked. Even he didn't. Yoda tapped his cane. Understand, we must. For if the Force has changed, then changed too must our path be. Silence fell. The Jedi had weathered many threats, Sith plots, galactic wars, even prophecies. But this was different. For the first time, they faced the possibility that time itself had been rewritten. And somewhere, hidden within the infinite tapestry of the Force, a new thread glowed, crimson and gold. That night, as stars burned over Coruscant, Obi-Wan stood once more on the temple balcony. The air was calm. Peaceful. He felt a shift, a flicker of wind, a whisper of energy passing behind him. He turned, but saw no one. Only a faint trail of red light fading into the sky. A voice, soft as thought, echoed through the Force. Run forward. He smiled. You're still out there, aren't you? On the edge of the unknown regions, beyond the reach of the Republic, a flash of light tore through hyperspace. Inside it, Barry Allen ran, faster than ever, his form half-merged with streaks of blue Force energy. Around him, visions unfolded, Jedi fighting Sith, a masked man with a red lightsaber, a boy staring at twin suns. Time wasn't linear here. It was fluid. And Barry could see it all, the entire story of this galaxy, past and future. He slowed for a moment, awe washing over him. So this is what destiny looks like. Then, somewhere far ahead, a new presence stirred, cold, ancient, powerful. The dark side itself. A whisper reached him. You meddle with currents you do not understand, speedster. Barry gritted his teeth. Then teach me. The voice laughed, deep, echoing, eternal. And once again, Barry ran. In the hidden chambers beneath the Senate rotunda, Chancellor Palpatine stood before a suspended hologram of red lightning frozen in midair, a fragment of speed force energy, captured and preserved by Sith alchemy and Republic technology. The air buzzed faintly, distorting his reflection. Mos Amedda approached cautiously. It's been weeks, my lord. The energy sample has shown unpredictable behavior. Perhaps we should destroy it before. Palpatine raised a single hand, silencing him. Do you feel it, Mos? It hums, like the dark side itself. Alive. Whispering of possibilities. He stepped closer, the crimson light dancing across his face. The Jedi see the Force as balance, as destiny. But this is change. It bends time. It mocks prophecy. Ameta hesitated. Change is dangerous. Palpatine smiled. Dangerous, yes. But power always is. Later that night, in his private quarters, the Chancellor shed his political facade. Cloaked in black, he communed through the Force with his master, Darth Plagueis. The voice that answered was faint, ghostly. You have found something, beyond the living Force. Yes, Palpatine whispered. Energy that defies causality. A mortal ran between moments, altered outcomes, and then vanished. His power lingers, waiting to be claimed. Plagueis' tone was almost reverent. If this speed force is what you believe, it could grant us dominion not only over life and death, but over time itself. Palpatine smiled in the shadows. And with time, my master, even the Jedi prophecy can be undone. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, Obi-Wan and Anakin were summoned to investigate strange anomalies within the city's lower levels. Another temporal distortion, Obi-Wan muttered as they descended into the neon-drenched underworld. Anakin scanned the readings. Same energy as before, speed force residue. But it's pulsing, like it's alive. They followed the signal into an abandoned maintenance tunnel. Inside, red lightning arced across the walls, forming ghostly images, soldiers frozen mid-battle, clones flickering between ages, and at the center, the shimmering outline of a man running. Anakin stepped closer. Barry? The illusion turned its head. Anakin? Then the vision collapsed, the lightning imploding into darkness. Back at the temple, Yoda meditated in silence, his mind reaching into the storm. He saw flashes of the future, Anakin standing above rivers of fire, masked in darkness, a republic crumbling, the rise of machines. And through it all, streaks of red and gold weaving between fates, changing paths unseen. Balance disrupted, he murmured. Time fractured, destiny uncertain. Mace Windu entered. The Senate is pushing for a deeper study of this anomaly. They want Palpatine's science division involved. Yoda frowned deeply. Study leads to control. Control leads to domination. Dark, this path is. Windu crossed his arms. Then we need to stop it before he weaponizes it. But it was already too late. Deep in the hidden labs beneath Coruscant, Palpatine's scientists had made progress. They'd built a containment chamber that could store fragments of residual speed force. Clones were exposed to it, most died instantly. But a few survived. And those few could move faster than thought. Palpatine watched through the observation glass as one trooper blinked across the room, leaving afterimages of himself. His armor steamed from the friction. His heart rate spiked, then stopped. The body collapsed, disintegrating into red dust. Palpatine turned to his lead scientist. Imperfect. But promising. The scientist hesitated. It seems biological forms cannot hold this energy. The body burns out. Palpatine's eyes gleamed. Then perhaps it requires a vessel of pure will. That same night, the Emperor's clone project began under a new codename, Project Velocity. On the battlefield of Kashyyyk, months later, an experimental commando unit arrived. Their armor bore crimson streaks and strange circuits along the limbs. They moved with impossible speed, darting through blaster fire, cutting down droids before their sensors could react. Who are those troopers? Rex asked, watching in awe. Anakin frowned. They move like him. Like who? Like the Flash. Back in the shadows, Palpatine observed every report with fascination. But as Project Velocity expanded, something unexpected began to happen, time itself reacted. Whole battle reports began changing. Missions that had failed were now logged as victories. Entire planets seemed to vanish from the archives, only to reappear with different histories. Reality was rewriting itself, and no one noticed. No one, except the Jedi. In the meditation halls, Yoda felt the shifts like tremors in the Force. Change the past, they do. Unravel the present, they will. He summoned Obi-Wan and Anakin. Go, you must. Find the source. Before destiny itself breaks. Far away, in the hyperspace lanes beyond Corellia, a crimson flash ignited once again. Barry Allen re-emerged, gasping, his suit sparking with unstable energy. He whispered to himself, I ran too far, the timeline's cracking. Then his eyes widened as he saw the stars distort before him, the galaxy itself bending into a storm of light. Someone had stolen a piece of the Speed Force. The war changed overnight. Reports came from the Outer Rim, battlefields where clone troopers moved like streaks of lightning, tearing through droid armies before they could fire a shot. The Separatists called them the Red Shadows. To the Republic, they were Palpatine's elite reinforcements. To the Jedi, they were an omen. In the war room aboard the Resolute, Anakin stared at the holomap. Planet after planet glowed with red markings, systems secured faster than any hyperspace fleet could travel. How is this even possible, he muttered. Obi-Wan's expression was grim. It isn't. They're appearing before they've even been dispatched. The reports are out of order. Time is folding. Anakin slammed his fist on the table. Then we go straight to the source. Coruscant. Before Obi-Wan could answer, the ship jolted, alarms blaring. The stars outside twisted, turning into streaks of red light. The clone pilot shouted, we've hit a temporal surge. The ship's systems flickered, and suddenly, they weren't alone. A man appeared on the bridge, collapsing to his knees. His suit burned with red lightning, gold emblem cracked across his chest. Anakin's eyes widened. Barry? Barry looked up, eyes glowing faintly with Speed Force energy. You have to shut it down, he's tearing reality apart. Deep beneath the Senate Rotunda, Palpatine stood inside the control chamber of Project Velocity. Dozens of containment pods pulsed with crimson energy. Clones suspended within screamed silently as their bodies vibrated between seconds, alive and dead, over and over. The Emperor spread his arms, feeling the distortion wash through him. At last, he whispered. The Force bends to time. He reached into the core, his fingers brushing the raw Speed Force fragment, and for the first time, the dark side merged with it. Red lightning turned gold, then black. The air screamed. In hyperspace, entire fleets blinked in and out of existence. Planets reversed rotation. Jedi communed with echoes of their future selves. Reality cracked. In the temple, Yoda staggered. Visions hit him all at once, past, present, and future overlapping. He saw clones killing Jedi. He saw the rise of Vader. He saw Luke and Rey, centuries apart, fighting the same shadow. And through all of it ran one red streak, Barry Allen, still running. He whispered, only one, there is, who can mend this. Back aboard the Resolute, Barry stood beside Anakin and Obi-Wan, stabilizing the ship's systems with vibrating hands. I thought I fixed it, Barry said through gritted teeth. But your Emperor, he found a way to weaponize my energy. He's forcing the Speed Force to sync with your Force. If he succeeds. Anakin asked, what happens? Barry looked at him, his voice broke. There won't be a timeline left. Obi-Wan stepped forward. Then we destroy the source. Barry nodded. The Velocity Core. Under the Senate. But getting there means running through time itself. Together, the three launched a desperate assault on Coruscant. The skies burned red as fragments of the past bled into the present, clone ships fighting themselves, Jedi dueling Sith long dead, Padme's face flickering between life and shadow. Barry closed his eyes. This is it. The chronal storm. I'll anchor us inside. He reached out, touching both Jedi. In an instant, they were pulled into a tunnel of pure light, running through frozen moments of history. The Speed Force and the Force collided, merging into one stream. They saw everything: the rise of the Sith, the fall of the Republic, the boy who would become Darth Vader. Anakin saw his own future, his face burned, mechanical, broken. He stumbled. What is that?" Barry caught him. "It's not written yet. Run faster." They burst into the velocity chamber, and there, Palpatine waited. He was no longer merely Sith. The Speed Force had merged with him, twisting his form. His robes shimmered between centuries, his voice echoing like thunder through time. "I have seen all timelines," he declared. "1,000 futures. In every one, I rise." Barry flared with lightning. "Not this one." The chamber exploded into chaos. Barry and Palpatine collided, red and gold lightning lashing across the galaxy. Each blow rewrote seconds, erasing and restoring moments. Anakin and Obi-Wan fought to destroy the containment pods while the world around them bent and folded. Palpatine raised his hands. "You cannot win, Speedster. You fight the inevitable." Barry's eyes blazed. "I am inevitable. I'm the man who outruns it." He dove into the velocity core, dragging Palpatine with him. The entire structure imploded, a blinding surge of energy that wiped the chamber from existence. Silence. The red storm vanished. Time held still. Anakin woke up in the Senate Hall. Obi-Wan beside him. Outside, Coruscant's sky was clear once more. But the Emperor was gone. No one remembered the red shadows. The war continued, but subtly different. The galaxy had shifted again, slightly out of sync with memory. Anakin looked down at his belt. The fragment of Barry's suit was gone. In its place, a streak of faint red energy pulsed beneath his glove. Across the galaxy, in the endless void between dimensions, Barry ran. He could feel time repairing itself behind him, the Force stabilizing. But ahead, something stirred. A presence watching him. A figure cloaked in shadow stepped from the temporal mist, holding a crimson lightsaber that burned backward through time. "You fixed one timeline," the voice said. "Now face the next." Barry slowed, panting. "Who are you?" The figure ignited his blade. "I am the echo of all futures. You can call me Revan." And as the lightning flared, the Speed Force and the Force met once more, not in war, but in destiny. The void between timelines was not dark. It was alive. Streams of energy flowed in every direction, blue, red, gold, white, each representing a version of reality, each humming with infinite stories. Barry Allen drifted within them, weightless, lightning flickering softly around him. He was exhausted. Every step he'd taken since colliding with Palpatine had been through history itself. He'd seen the rise of the Jedi, the fall of the Sith, and 1,000 branching possibilities that no longer existed. And then, out of that luminous storm, came him. A figure in a tattered robe and mask, his presence bending both time and the Force. Revan. Barry blinked. "I know that name. Jedi. Sith, both." Revan's mask tilted slightly. "Neither anymore. I am what remains when time forgets which side was right." They floated amid swirling ribbons of reality. Barry's voice was quiet, almost reverent. "You shouldn't exist." Revan's tone was calm. "Neither should you." He gestured, and visions unfolded, Palpatine's experiments, the Clone Wars, the fall of Anakin, and the Empire yet to come. All this, Revan said, was not supposed to be touched. But you ran through it. You changed what the Force once accepted as fixed. Barry frowned. "I didn't mean to. I was trying to stop him from destroying everything." Revan's eyes glowed faintly behind the mask. "Intent does not matter. The galaxy bends under consequence, not will. Barry crossed his arms. So what now? You gonna erase me? Revan's expression softened. No. I summoned you. Barry blinked. You what? I felt your energy tearing through my echo. The force screamed. Time fractured. And I realized, this is not chaos, it's a choice. Revan spread his arms. We stand between two futures, Barry Allen. One where the force restores balance, at the cost of billions of lives, and one where the speed force rewrites time, saving them, but unraveling the force forever. Barry's breath caught. That's not a choice, that's a nightmare. Revan nodded slowly. Every destiny is. The void shimmered, showing them visions, Yoda meditating alone, sensing something missing in the galaxy, Anakin on Mustafar, hesitating a single second longer before striking, the Emperor's rebirth, delayed but inevitable. Barry watched, horrified. He still comes back. Revan's voice dropped to a whisper. He always does. That is the nature of the Sith. Of entropy. Of time. So you're saying, nothing I did mattered? Revan turned to him. You misunderstand. Every act matters. Even a single step can change eternity. You didn't erase evil, you gave the galaxy another chance. Barry looked around, at the rivers of light, each representing infinite outcomes. He asked quietly, why show me this? Revan reached out, his gauntlet brushing the current of gold lightning. Because I cannot enter the living force anymore. I exist only here, between what was and what could be. But you can still run. Barry's eyes narrowed. Run where? To the moment before the fracture began. Before Palpatine touched the speed force. Seal it. Restore the natural flow of time. Barry clenched his fists. That means I'll never have existed in this galaxy. Revan nodded. That is the price of balance. For a long moment, Barry said nothing. He thought of Anakin's face, the boy trying to understand fate. Of Obi-Wan's steady calm. Of the Jedi temple rising beneath twin suns. He smiled faintly. You know. I used to run to save the world. Now it's the galaxy. Guess I don't do small miracles. Revan's mask tilted. Do you regret it? Barry looked out into the endless light. No. But I wish I could see how it ends. Revan lifted his hand, the streams of reality bent, revealing one last vision. A young boy, standing beneath twin suns. Older now, with a lightsaber at his side and hope in his eyes. Barry whispered, who is he? Revan answered, the one who brings balance. Because you ran. The void began to shake, the timelines collapsing back into place. Revan's form flickered, fading. Barry stepped forward. Wait, what happens to you? Revan smiled beneath his mask. I remain where I belong, between moments. Until the next runner arrives. Barry grinned. Then, guess I'll leave the light on. He turned toward the storm, the energy roaring to life around him. And once more, the flash ran. Each stride carried him backward through the galaxy's history, through Coruscant, Kamino, Naboo, Tatooine. He passed Yoda, who turned as if sensing something. He passed Anakin, who paused mid-battle, whispering, run forward. Until finally, Barry reached the instant where it all began, the moment he'd crashed through the dimensional barrier. He stopped, drew a deep breath, and smiled. Time to close the loop. He touched his chest emblem, it pulsed once, and then he vanished in a burst of red and white light. The galaxy realigned. The distortion ceased. Palpatine's experiments never existed. The red shadows, the anomalies, gone. But the Force, remembered. Far in the future, Luke Skywalker meditated on Octu. The sea whispered softly, the wind calm. Then, for a heartbeat, the horizon flickered, and a faint streak of red lightning arced across the sky. Luke's eyes opened. He smiled. "Thank you, whoever you were." In the endless void between realities, Revan stood alone. He watched as the last traces of gold light faded. Then he whispered, almost to himself. "Even time can be redeemed." Years passed. Then decades. Then centuries. The galaxy healed, but something within it had changed. The Jedi spoke of it first, whispers of motion within stillness, a presence in meditation that came and vanished like wine through the stars. They didn't call it by name, not yet, but they could feel it, a current beneath the Force itself. On Coruscant, the rebuilt temple glowed at sunrise. Inside, a group of young Padawans trained under Master Teraven, one of the few survivors of the Great Purge. She watched as her students moved in perfect synchrony, until one, a boy from Corellia, broke formation. He was fast. Too fast. His lightsaber blurred through the air, not the graceful arc of a Jedi, but a flicker, like lightning given form. The others froze, stunned by his impossible speed. Ven approached, calm but wary. "Padawan Rhine," she said softly. "Where did you learn that movement?" The boy looked confused. "I don't know, Master. I just feel it. Like the Force wants me to move before I think." Her brow furrowed. Move before thought. It was not a Jedi teaching. It was instinct, something older, something alien. Elsewhere, deep in the ruins of Malachar, scavengers uncovered a strange relic half buried in stone, a triangular holocron, but not of Jedi or Sith design. It shimmered faintly red and gold, humming with a rhythm that felt like a heartbeat. When activated, it didn't speak in words, it spoke in sound. A low hum, pulsing faster and faster until the chamber filled with an echo of thunder. Those who stood too close swore they saw a man, featureless, surrounded by crimson light. Running through the storm. They called it the Lightning Codex. Within a year, both Jedi and Sith began seeking it. The Jedi believed it was an echo of the living Force, a bridge between consciousness and motion. The Sith believed it was a weapon, proof that speed could transcend death itself. They were both half right. On the outer rim, among smugglers and bounty hunters, rumors spread about a ship seen streaking across hyperspace without a drive signature, leaving behind only a red streak in the void. Some said it was a malfunction. Others said it was a ghost. But the Mandalorians knew better. In a hidden forge on Navarro, an old armorer inspected a sigil burned into a piece of Beskar recovered from a battle site, a lightning bolt carved clean through steel. She traced it with her gauntlet and whispered, "A warrior faster than sight. The storm that runs." She added the mark to her records, a mythic emblem, a new sign of honor. They would call it the sign of the runner. Generations later, on the desert world of Jakku, a scavenger girl chased a mirage. The sun shimmered, and for a brief instant, she saw it, a man in red running across the dunes, his form dissolving into sand and light. When she reached the spot, there was nothing left but a single symbol etched into a buried panel, high voltage. Rey didn't understand it then. But years later, when she touched the broken Skywalker saber and saw visions of the past, the Jedi, the Sith, the fall of the Empire, she also saw him. The one who ran between stars. The galaxy had forgotten his name, but not his motion. Even the Force had begun to adapt. Some Jedi could now step slightly ahead of time during combat, a heartbeat of foresight that no longer felt like precognition, but like memory remembered too early. The archives began calling it velocity sense. They didn't know where it came from. Only that it arrived one day and never left. On the moon of Jeddah, among the monks of the Wills, a prophecy was rediscovered. It spoke of a runner who bridged the currents of time. Whose heart beat faster than fate. Whose step would awaken the sleeping Force. The monks debated endlessly, was it metaphor? Or was it history written in thunder? None could say. But every time lightning danced across the sky without a storm, the monks bowed their heads in silence. Far beyond the reach of known space, deep in the shadow between galaxies, something stirred. It wasn't alive, not in the way mortals understood, but it remembered. The speed force, once torn and sealed, pulsed softly like a living star. Within it, the echo of a voice murmured, "Run forward." The galaxy would go on, unaware of the price one man paid to restore its rhythm. But sometimes, when a Jedi felt the Force flow too quickly, when a pilot saw a flash of red during hyperspace jump, or when a storm rolled across Coruscant without rain, they'd whisper of the Crimson Ghost. And somewhere, between seconds, Barry Allen smiled. The Force and the Speed Force had touched, and neither would ever be the same again. Time had moved on. The Empire was gone. The First Order had risen and fallen. The Jedi were whispers again, faint, flickering lights in a galaxy still trying to remember peace. But darkness never truly died. It only waited. In the depths of Exegol, long after its catacombs had been sealed and forgotten, something pulsed beneath the stone. Not the dark side, not entirely. It was faster, brighter, but twisted, corrupted by ages of Sith alchemy. A storm without rain. A memory without form. The cultists of the Final Dawn had gathered there, worshipping not Palpatine, not the Force, but the Echo. They believed it was the voice of the Ancient One who ran between worlds, the being of pure motion. They were wrong. It was only a fragment, a ripple left behind when Barry Allen tore through time to save the galaxy. But that ripple had found something else in the void, a sliver of Palpatine's consciousness, drifting between death and eternity. And now the two were merging. Lightning cracked across Exegol's black sky, splitting it open like the universe itself was remembering pain. From the ruins rose a shape, not human, not machine, but energy given form. A crimson figure with golden streaks across its body, eyes burning like twin suns. Palpatine's laughter echoed through the storm. Power beyond the Force, motion beyond time, the perfect vessel. The Sith Eternal called it the Velocity Throne. It was no longer just a spirit. It could move faster than light, phase through matter, appear in two places at once. Palpatine had finally found the one thing he had always feared, and desired, control over time itself. But as the storm spread across the galaxy, others began to feel it too. On Coruscant, the descendants of Rey's new Jedi Order felt tremors in the Force, not like before. Faster. Wilder. The currents of time were rippling backward. And from that storm came visions. A man in red. A voice whispering, "You can still outrun it." Master Ryan, the once young boy with impossible speed, was now grown. He had mastered velocity sense, the strange force ability that let him move half a second ahead of destiny. But now, he realized where it came from. "The runner," he murmured. "He's still out there." The council gathered. They could feel the balance of the galaxy unraveling again, not from hate or greed this time, but from chaos itself. The Force was being dragged into motion too fast to breathe. They traced the storm to Exegol. The place where all storms seemed to begin. When the Jedi fleet arrived, the planet was surrounded by lightning storms so dense they made hyperspace travel shatter. Ships exploded on entry. Space itself bent. Only one vessel broke through, a single modified fighter piloted by Ryan himself. His ship glowed with strange crimson energy. It wasn't the Force guiding him anymore. It was something else. Something older. Something familiar. "You helped me once," he whispered into the storm. "Let me help you now." Inside the heart of Exegol, Palpatine's speed echo moved like thunder given purpose. He was everywhere at once, speaking from every angle, striking with hands that could exist in 10 different seconds simultaneously. "You think you are fast, boy," the Sith voice sneered. "I am motion itself." Ryan dropped his saber. He closed his eyes and whispered a name he had never spoken before. Barry Allen. The lightning around him slowed. The storm paused. And from within the static, a shape emerged, glowing red, bright as sunrise, the original Flash. Not alive, but not gone either. A memory with will. Barry stood between Ryan and the Sith Echo, his voice soft but steady. "Time's up, Palpatine." The echo roared, the sky split, and for a heartbeat, three forces collided. The Speed Force. The Force. And the Sith's hunger for eternity. Reality trembled. What happened next could not be measured in seconds. The entire galaxy felt it, from Coruscant spires to the frozen wastelands of Hoth. A light swept through hyperspace, cleansing the ripples Barry's entrance had once made. It wasn't destruction. It was balance. Barry looked at Ryan, the young Jedi trembling before him. "You're the next step," he said. "Run wisely." Then, with a grin that held every goodbye in the universe, Barry Allen turned and ran, not into space, not into time, but into peace. The storm vanished. The stars steadied. The Force breathed again. Years later, children at the Jedi Academy spoke of him in whispers. A spirit who moved faster than light, who saved the galaxy before breakfast, who carried thunder in his heart. They didn't call him the Flash. They called him the first Speed Jedi. And deep in the archives, among the holocrons, a new prophecy was etched by hand. When the Force slows, the lightning shall return. When darkness freezes time, the runner shall break it again. For every end is just another race begun. In a quiet corner of the galaxy, somewhere between seconds, the faintest voice echoed. "My name is Barry Allen. And I was the fastest being alive." Subscribe for more story.